What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. This right here, as you all know, is the podcast where we dive into the deep, dark, murky waters with a plethora of legendary guests. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, the number one scumbag, Rex Ruger. That's REXXX. You might also know me as the King of Sleaze, a.k.a. the Hair Metal High Priest, and most importantly, of course, a.k.a. right there, Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Take a look, folks. It should be undeniable, even to the untrained eye, but the good news is DNA testing will prove conclusively very soon that you are looking at the son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a few grams. I got a million fans. I'm your ice cream man, Mr. Wop Boppa Loo Boppa Wop Bam Bam Shazam. Hot damn. Feeling good? Of course, everybody in the house, including you all out there, looking good. And for me, I only accomplished that with one product and one product only. It's all that's needed. Coming to you as always from the Lavender Lounge of Love, where it all goes down. Joined as always by the great legend himself, the Keith Hernandez puppet. We, of course, are bringing you the No Frills podcast. You don't get any frills, but you get rock star size thrills. That's looking at moi. And if you are looking, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to follow Pod Scum on Facebook. That's in order. And today, no different. Legends galore again. And very, very excited about today's episode. I don't know why I'm yelling so much, but I am. It's the excitement. Today, a fantastic episode, one that I'm very excited about, very proud, honored to have this gentleman on. Very exciting. I am very excited. Again, let me also remind you that Love Sword, my glam sleaze metal passion project, I'm still looking for virtuoso level players. You can't be the front man because there can only be one, and you're looking at him, the second greatest front man to ever do it. But you can be the backing band, and I need players, and nobody seems to want to take me up on it. Nobody wants to slide into my DMs, as the kids say. Nobody wants to hit me up in the comment section. Apparently, it's intimidating. Nobody seems to have the chops, as they say in the music biz. So, I don't know. I don't know what to say, folks. It's an opportunity of a lifetime that no one seems to want to take me up on. I understand the intimidation. I do. Being a legendary front man. I get this a lot, Pops, I'm sure you can relate. The intimidation factor through the roof. But while we're waiting for our guest in, let me digress here for a moment with the shenanigans here. And want to thank everybody. At the time of this recording, we are up over 150 episodes on the channel, up over 300 subscribers. Which is not bad considering July 28th. At the time of this recording, it is August the 4th. So a couple days ago, July 28th, marked the 1-year anniversary of Pod Scum, which I'm very proud of and extremely happy to report that we have made it a year. How the fuck do you like that, huh? Craziness. So it is what it is. Here we are a year later. I really owe it all, of course, to my guests. They, of course, are the bread and butter of this whole thing. I'm just the one kind of slapping it on the bread, so to speak. But couldn't do what I do without them. So big shout out and a big thank you to them, all of them, who I respect immensely for their talents. It is what it is. And my guest is hitting me up here right now. So we will see what he's got to say here. And of course, this is also the No Frills podcast because no editing. 50 years old over here. 50-year-old guy right here refuses to edit. Life is happening, and it's not to be edited, toyed with, trifled with, any of that shit. So you don't like my little preamble, me bumping my gums. I totally respect that. Drag your little fucking cursor until we get to the meat and potatoes, until we get to the actual interview. And, you know, I am not offended by that. It is what it is. That being said, let me see what is going on here. I am trying to get my guest in here, so please bear with me. Oh, and I do believe he's here now, so let's get down to it and chop it up with him on PodScum. I am excited about this one. You guys are going to love it. Let's do it.
There you go.
Lou KOLLER, let me just say, first of all, man, that the reason that Sick of It All is one of the greatest bands in the world, it's because of the title of the band. I go through life every day thinking I'm sick of so many goddamn things. The name of the band just epitomizes pretty much life in general.
Thank you.
I don't know if I just started everything out on a negative note or not, but I mean,
no, that's great.
Listen, Lou, I'm sick of it all.
I totally know. I feel it.
You feel me, right? You do.
Yep.
So listen, first of all, I want to start and work backwards a little bit. I love the audiobook, man. The Blood and the Sweat. I think it's great. What was the impetus behind doing the book? Did someone approach you about this? Was this you and Pete's idea?
No, it was our friend Howie Abrams. He's been with us since the very beginning. You know, he's been a fan of the band, a friend, and then we ended up on Relativity Records, which he worked for. He was very instrumental in getting us signed to that and starting the whole Combat Core thing with Agnostic Front and Circle Jerks and all those other bands.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the story of Sick of It All should start with you two, meaning me and Pete.
Yeah.
And, so that's what we did. You know?
And you know, for you and your brother, you know, what was it about? What was the first thing? What was it? An album, an artist, a song? What was it that first resonated with you guys and hooked you guys into this this hardcore lifestyle?
Well, I mean, we were always into like heavy metal, rock and roll. Like, you know, of course, starting with Kiss. That was like the first record we ever had was Kiss Alive. My mother went out and bought it. You know, I mean, we had other stuff when we were younger, you know, but it was more like mainstream pop stuff or whatever you would call it. I don't know, you know, like who was the guy who sang the song Bad Leroy Brown? Do you remember that song?
Jim Croce.
That's it. Yeah, I had that 7-inch. We thought it was the greatest song ever. We had a 7-inch of it. We would play it over and over. But, you know, so then from Kiss, you know, we got into all this stuff. But it was, I have to say, it was not just one record, because, you know, we were into the English stuff like The Exploited, you know, Sex Pistols, of course, Discharge, and GBH. And then we got into the American stuff, especially Agnostic Front. And if it's an album and a band, it's Agnostic Front. It's the Victim in Pain record.
Sure.
Just sold it. You know, it was like, wow.
I feel like that's a gateway for a lot of people into hardcore. And I've had a couple of guys from Agnostic Front on, and like, they really are, you know, that documentary that was made about them, Godfathers of Hardcore, they really are, though. You know, they really are.
I love that documentary. We went and watched it. We were on tour in Europe, and Roger was showing it in Berlin, and he did a special screening at this record store, Cortex Records in Germany. And when it started and the song Victim in Pain comes on, I got goosebumps. And if you watch, you see me and Pete running around in the pit in that first scene from CBGB's. I was really excited.
and you know, you talk about Pete. You know, we've certainly seen that dynamic in rock bands before. You know, brothers working together. How does the dynamic work with you guys? Because you know, obviously, you know, it can obviously probably be rewarding, but also probably difficult to work with a family member.
Yeah, it's easy, I think, for us, you know, even with Armand and Craig, we've been together even in the beginning. It was just kind of like a camaraderie. And, but for me to work with Pete, it's no problem at all, you know. Personal stuff doesn't get in the way. You know, if there's something that the other guys feel they they don't want to bring up to Pete because it might offend him or whatever, I'll bring it up to him because I'm his brother. And the same thing, he does that with me too.
Yeah, and so, and I love the fact that you guys did an audiobook, and most importantly, I love the fact that you guys narrated it yourself. Was that important to you guys? Because I think when people are telling their story in a memoir or a biographical book, and especially with an audio version of it, I think it helps and it benefits the book much more when the person that lived it tells the story. Yeah,
definitely. When they suggested an audiobook after we were finishing up on the written one, Howie and us were all like, the publisher suggested let's hire somebody.
Yeah,
and we were all like, it's just not going to sound right. It's going to be really boring,
Yeah.
I mean, you heard it. We're like laughing at it, the stories as we're telling them. Because
and I think that's pivotal. So for you guys, what's the creative process like when Sick of It All gets together to make an album? Does somebody come in with the lion's share of the ideas? Is it very collaborative between everybody? What's the process like for you guys?
It's very collaborative now. In the beginning, Pete wrote, I'd say like 90% of the music, and Armine, especially the first album, Armine contributed a couple of songs. Lyrically, it was mostly me, and Armine contributed a little bit. And when Craig joined the band for Scratch the Surface, that was like my favorite time of writing because we just got together for a whole summer, every day in the summer, and we just jammed and wrote together.
Yeah.
But now, during COVID, Pete was very prolific. He wrote like 30 songs musically.
Yeah.
Some with lyrics. So that's what we have to get down now is get all four of us together and start hammering it out.
Yeah.
But usually the last couple of albums have been very like, Pete will come in with songs and he'll even have lyrics, and Armine will come in with songs and have lyrics. Craig will have ideas for lyrics or whatever, and we all sit down and contribute. So now it's all, a mishmash.
Yeah. Now, ordinarily, when I'm getting my bullet points together and I'm going to talk to somebody from a band, usually invariably I end up on the internet, usually end up on their Wikipedia page. And usually, and I'm sure you know this too, there's that laundry list of ex-members with a lot of bands, especially New York hardcore bands. It seems like everybody's played in everybody's band. You guys have seemed since 92 to have avoided that revolving door. How does that dynamic work? Nobody wants to leave Sick of It All, which is a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we just seem to work well together. There was a brief period after our original bass player Richie left, Armine left also, and we had two other members for a very short time. They were great musicians, really nice guys that we knew from the scene, but it just didn't gel. And then Armine came back, and Richie didn't want to come back. And Craig was the natural choice because at that point, Agnostic Front was taking a hiatus or breaking up. And then Craig was with us from day one also. He was there when we recorded the first record. He booked our first show.
Yeah.
So he was just a natural fit. And then we get along well. We treat each other right. A lot of bands break up or leave because of like the business aspect.
Right.
And with us, it's always, we divide everything 4 ways.
Yeah.
There are albums where somebody writes more than somebody else, but we always divide things 4 ways because we all, put our heart.
Right. Is there somebody in the band, you talk about the business aspect of it. Is there somebody in the band who kind of takes the lead when it comes to like, doing bookings or like dealing with managers? I know talking to the guys at Agnostic Front, Roger kind of takes the lead on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Is there somebody out of you 4 guys who kind of takes the ball and runs with that?
Yeah, we had management for over the years, different managers. Before, like when the band first started, me and Pete did all the business. And I hated it.
Yeah.
But then years ago, Armine took over doing it. He's very business minded. He knows how to do that. He's really good with when the booking agent sends in a route, he's good at looking at it, and he'll sit there and be like, well, if we play in Poland on this day and they want us in Spain the very next day, that's going to be a double bus driver, blah, blah, blah. It's going to cost us too much money. He's smart like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit there and do that
Right.
shit.
Yeah,
So
that's
our mind is like the business end of the
yeah.
you know, the
You
band.
you gotta have that guy in the band. You gotta have him.
Yeah,
You
you do.
Now you mentioned being on the road. You guys are obviously a band that spends a lot of time touring. As you get older in this business, I'm 50 years old myself. I know we can't replicate the things we did 20, 30 years ago. Do you make any changes? Is the preparation, is the mindset, is there anything that you do different now out on the road where the dynamic has changed at all?
Oh yeah, a lot more rest, a lot more stretching before shows. I don't think it's affected our mind too bad. He still likes to drink a lot of beer after the show, so he's good. But yeah, Pete is just a machine. He just works out all the time.
Yeah.
And like I said, me and Craig, we're kind of a little lazier. We'll stretch and all that before the show, but I'm not getting up at 7 a.m. to work out the next day. Fuck that.
And how about the dynamic with touring? Obviously the narrative in our life changes, again, as we get older, family, kids, I talk to a lot of guys on here who have jobs that, that might keep them tethered to an area and prevent them from going away or limit how long they can go away for. How does that dynamic work for the four of you guys when you're planning out your itinerary?
Again, when we were younger and unattached, even when I got married and Armand got married, we just kept touring. Like, it's like, go out for 4 weeks, that's fine. Go out for 5 weeks, we didn't care.
Yeah.
But now that we're a little older, we try to break it up and do 3 weeks or at the most 4 weeks. That being said, though, we just did a European tour of 5 weeks, and it was great. Every show was fun, but we really felt it the last week. We were like, wow.
Yeah,
we're not 20. We're not in our 20s and 30s anymore.
I believe me.
You got to give it.
Yeah, you do.
You got to give it your all every night. You got to do it every night.
And I talked to a lot of musicians on here, obviously, and usually I know the answer to this question. It's usually until the wheels fall off. But have you guys ever sat around consciously and thought about, like, geez, I don't want to still be doing this at a certain age, or is that is that the game plan till the wheels fall off?
Well, we always said till it's not fun anymore.
Right.
When it stops being fun, and when you get older, a lot of aspects become a real pain in the ass. It's like now that we're scattered across the country. Like, Pete lives in Florida, I live in New Jersey. Craig still lives in New York, but he lives in upstate. Armand lives upstate New York. It's hard for us to get together.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the worst part, is like preparing for a tour. We don't even rehearse together anymore. Everybody rehearses wherever they live.
Right.
And that's one of the things I hate. I hate that I go to a studio and I have to sing to, my iPhone plugged into a PA.
Yeah.
I miss the weekly meetings, going to the studio. We booked the studio for 4 hours and you joke around for 3 and then you play for an hour. But I mean, once we get together on tour, it's just, it's the same. It's like, bang, you're right back where we were, 40 years ago.
And at this point, what do you guys consider down there in New Jersey and New York City? What do you guys consider when you say upstate New York? Because I feel like anything that isn't the city, because I'm an upstate New York guy. I'm up near Syracuse. So, I mean, I feel I feel like whenever I tell somebody I'm from New York, they want to know what borough. Like they can't fathom, they can't fathom that there's other parts of New York other than the city.
Exactly. Well, Craig is up in Hudson County, New York.
Okay.
Armand's in Westchester. So that's like upstate.
That's upstate to you guys.
Westchester's not really Westchester. Yeah, it's not really upstate, but to me it is.
Now the music business has changed so much. I certainly, with the streaming platforms, all that stuff, I don't have to tell, that's not something that I have to tell you. But with these platforms and all this stuff, when you guys release music now, you guys still have that old core, that old school mentality where when you guys release something, it's going to be a fully realized album. You're seeing a lot of people now putting out singles or they're putting out shortened versions, putting out EPs. What works best for Sick of It All?
We try to write an album. Because we try to, it's not, our fans and people our age and even a little younger that you have to get through. You have to get through to the newer generations that it's like, listen to the whole album. Every song is put in a certain order for a reason.
I agree.
To give the excitement of the album,
Is the hardcore ethos? I've had the pleasure of talking to some other guys from hardcore bands recently. Is that ethos? And you know, when I say that, I mean, you know, when I think of hardcore, and I think of bands like you and Madball and Agnostic Front, and even some of the older ones, Sheer Terror. You know, I think of like that Lower East Side. I think of it being really, you know, gritty. You know, very blue collar, very workmanlike. You know, when you're out there today, you know, does that ethos and that hardcore mentality, does it still exist?
Yeah, it does. It does.
It does.
And, you know, it's like you said, like the blue collar aspect. I think that's also what helps us cross over with a lot of the metal fans and whatever rock fan. You know, they just like it that you put in the work and you're busting your ass. You know, and the music speaks to them.
Who is your Mount Rushmore of hardcore?
Oh, that's kind of easy for me. It's it would be the big three from New York for me. My generation was Agnostic Front, Murphy's Law, and the Cro-Mags, and a fourth one I would throw in Reagan Youth. Because they were one of the best bands I've ever seen way back in the day. They were amazing.
When COVID first hit back in 2020, how did COVID affect you guys? If you can kind of tap back into that time, did it derail a lot of shit? Did you guys have anything on the precipice that was about to happen where you had to get where the plug got pulled on some shit?
Yeah, we were on the brink of a full-blown Mexico South American tour. All the dates were lined up perfectly for the flying, and
of course they were.
We were so excited, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, and it all got scrapped, and we haven't been able to line up these countries again like we had it.
Yeah.
Since then, we went to Colombia for a festival. And all we hear is still to this day, every time we post about playing, if we're playing in the United States, everybody's like, I have tickets for Argentina since 2020. When are you coming back? And I'm like, it's not like we're not trying, you know?
Right. I mean, you can only do what you can do. I mean, you know, I mean, you know, I'm sure the kibosh got put on on projects and plans for a lot of bands. I mean, you know.
Yeah. That thing stole almost 3 years of our lives, and it set everybody back. Yeah. And when it ended, when the lockdowns were lifted, it made touring a really tough. And especially you're still feeling the effects now as in like everybody and every band of every genre was trying to tour at once. So getting, like in Europe, we can afford, because of our popularity over there, to get a tour bus. Couldn't get a tour bus for the first 2 European tours we did after COVID, because every bus was booked for the next year and a half. Yeah. And all the prices are up, fuel is up, everything's up. So
everybody wanted to get back out there. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so specifically, I know we talked about the band's creative process and how collaborative it is, but for you specifically, when you're going to sit down and write music, what's the impetus for you? Like, what gets you inspired? Are you somebody that kind of like, you know, are you a guy that watches the news or pulls shit from movies or like books? Obviously, there's plenty of shit every day that you can get pissed off about and write good hardcore music to. There's never a shortage of that.
That's true. That's true. It's a little bit of everything. I mean, a lot of times, like, I'll go to a show and be completely inspired, you know, whether it's a younger band or an older band or whatever. I went to see a friend of ours. His father is the keyboardist for Deep Purple, and he's the tour manager. I went to see Deep Purple, which I loved as a teenager. I was so psyched when I got out of there. I wanted to go write music right away because they were so fucking good. You know, like the way they played, the set, it was amazing. And the same goes for seeing younger bands too. Like, I'll see a young band and be like, holy shit, these kids are fucking on fire, and it gets me psyched, you know?
Does it make you feel like you've got to step up your game when you see these younger bands bringing it like that?
Yeah. I like, it's different attitudes. Like, I see that, I'm like, shit, we got to write the best Sick of It All record we can ever write. Yeah. You know, and it really gets me excited.
Are there bands out there? Are there bands out there right now that you think are carrying the torch, like for hardcore? Are there any bands that you know that you're dialed into?
Oh, see, I always go blank at this question, but there are so many good young bands that are not even young, but just bands that are still around and bands that are out there they're really doing great. A lot of them are getting a lot of notice now. The Incendiary from I think it's Long Island, but
Yeah.
I forget where they're from, but they are killing it. And it's got a great sound. It's got a little bit of bands like I love, like Snapcase, but with some heavier stuff. So good. Really good.
Is at this stage of your life, will Lou KOLLER still get into a mosh pit, or are those days done?
I think they're done.
They're done for me. I know. After two back surgeries, they're done for me.
Exactly. But I surge it, but it would have to be a really special. Can you still hear me? My headphones died.
Yeah. I can hear you. Yeah.
I don't know. It would have to be really. I'd have to be really excited to see somebody. I mean, I went to Pantera the other night.
Yeah.
There was no pit for some reason, which I thought, but the venue was letting people mosh around in the aisles, which I thought was great.
And what was your take on the big Pantera reunion? It's obviously a very polarizing topic. Some people are for it, some people are against it. You got your Pantera purists. You know what I mean? How did you find the show?
Well, as far as playing wise and song wise and sounding, they sounded amazing.
Yeah.
I've known Phil since the Cowboys from Hell days. It was funny. I used to work in their management's mailroom, and one day the secretary calls me up and she said, "Is Lou up there?" And I go, "Yeah, he's up here." And Pantera comes. This is before they were worldwide known Pantera, and they would tell me how much they love New York hardcore and sick of it all, and we became kind of friends like that. But seeing Phil, his voice was so damn good. I was sitting in the audience go, holy shit, his voice is great.
Yeah.
I mean, the band played amazing, and it was great to see. I haven't seen Rex since the Cowboys from Hell days. I mean, but they were great. I understand people, they had the big tribute to Dime and Vinny, which was great.
Yeah. As a guy in the band who uses his throat as his instrument, are you a guy that's big into like any kind of throat care, or are you just one of those guys who just gets up there and just blasts it out?
I used to just be that guy who just blasted it out, but now I gotta stay when we go on tour, and I've been cheating. Like, we're going on tour in a couple of days. I usually stay a week before tour. I cut out coffee. I cut out all this stuff that kind of dries my throat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I stay away from coffee on tour. I don't indulge in a lot of, dairy, even though I love pizza.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I found that worked for me is it's ginger and honey. I drink that before show because the ginger, takes out all the swelling, and the honey just coat it. I like that. That works for me. Other people, they use all different stuff. I used to use a thing called the Singer's Saving Grace, and that's been all right, but I haven't used that in years.
And do you find that that as you get older, that your voice is holding up extremely well? I mean, I saw you guys last year at the Lost Horizon. I sent you some of the pictures and stuff, and you sounded fantastic to me. But do you notice any change in your voice as you get older?
I think it doesn't bounce back as quick. That's why we used to do 6 nights a week, and now I ask the guys to cut it back to let's do 5. And if you can break it up, that's even better.
Yeah.
We go out with Life of Agony every once in a while, and they do at the most 3 shows in a row, and then they're off for 2 or 3 days because of Mina's voice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I wish I could afford to do that.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, it must be nice, right? Now, 2018 was the last time you put out a full album, Wake the Sleeping Dragon. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask. I don't want to hear about it in the comment section. New Sick of It All music. Is it on the way, or when will it be on the way?
Well, we said no to a lot of touring in August. We're doing a short run with Life of Agony, and then we're in September, October, we're getting together because, like I said, Pete over COVID wrote 30 songs. Yeah. Craig says he has some in the works, and so does Armand. I've been working on lyrics for some of the songs that Pete wrote. Mm-hmm. So hopefully September to October we write, and then hopefully November we record. But that's the recording's up in the air. The writing is the actual writing's definitely set.
Is the recording process, I always hear a lot of musicians on here say how much more they'd love to be out on the road and touring live. Do you like the recording process?
it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes I do, there's certain aspects I really like about it, and there's others that just fucking boring.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where to get the best take, and then once I get the best take, I have that as a reference. So when I rehearse, I know what I'm doing better.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so fascinated about the book, though. When you guys sit down and do the book, and at the time you put out the book, you're talking about, a very long career. How do you pick and choose and arrange like the stories? Because I obviously from the time you guys have been doing this, there's got to be a plethora of amazing stories and material. So, I mean, how do you condense it all down? I mean, obviously you said you had somebody helping you with it, but do you and Pete say, but do you and Pete say, hey, we got to get this story in the book? This is such a great one.
Yeah, there were stories that we were like, oh, we have to tell this story.
Yeah.
What was really good was Howie doing it was basically like Howie interviewing us, and he had certain points that he knew would trigger something. And then once we started talking about that, it led into a different story or something else. So that was really good. And like I said, there were stories that we wanted to talk about. And then I always said that they should do a second book with Armand and Craig, because as soon as we finished, like they did their parts in the book, and then we would talk about it later. And Armand goes, "Oh, why don't you guys mention this? What happened or this tour?" And we would just look at each other like, "Oh man, we missed that. We forgot that."
Yeah. When you guys, well, I don't know, maybe you could shed some light on this. Why is the New York hardcore scene? Why did New York specifically in that area? And again, earlier I mentioned like the grittiness, the blue collarness, just with the type of environment that New York City was back then. Maybe that is the answer to my question. But but why was New York such a breeding ground for just fantastic hardcore? I mean, obviously we've seen great thrash come out of the Bay Area. There's great scenes all over the place. The grunge scene in Seattle. Why is it that you think that New York just bred all this great hardcore? Was it just a byproduct of the environment, just a moment in time?
I think so. Yeah, I think at that time it was a fertile ground, and it was the punk 70s punk music movement had passed on, and people were, other influences were coming in. Like I said, there was a whole English influence of Discharge and GBH, which you can hear in Agnostic Front. Sure. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give credit to the Detroit scene, especially Negative Approach.
Yeah,
they had a huge influence on New York hardcore. And then the Bad Brains, when they moved from DC to New York City, that sealed the deal. All New York just got revitalized.
Yeah.
And, that's when you had the bands like Murphy's Law, the Cro-Mags, and Agnostic Front just took off. And again, Reagan Youth and the other bands that were at the time.
Yeah.
And it's funny, there's a movie called The New York Hardcore Chronicles by Drew Stone. It's really good.
Yeah.
Originally, he wanted to do a like a Netflix series or something like that.
Yeah.
And he said he didn't touch in on the film, but he said he wanted to do a whole segment on Queens, New York, where we're from, because there were so many bands that came out of Queens, New York, even just musicians that were in bands. Like Leeway and Sick of It All, and just so many bands that came out of Queens.
And where does the band name? And I gave a big, I gave a lot of accolades at the top of the interview about what a great band name that is. Where does it come from? Who takes credit for Sick of It All?
It was like just me and Pete kind of together. We were talking about like what we wanted to say, what we wanted to name the band, and we were both like, yeah, like we're just fed up or for whatever. And I don't remember it was him or me, but one of us was like, yeah, Sick of It All.
It works.
And, and it just fit. Somebody said, a friend of ours who was drumming, who's technically our first drummer before Armand, this kid Dave, he said, "That's too long. Just call it Sick of All." I'm like, I don't know. That sounds weird.
It wouldn't have worked as good. It wouldn't have worked as good. And when you, since I have you on here, I got to ask you this one. This usually winds up being one of my more polarizing questions. But if I'm dropping Lou Koller on a desert island, what's the album that you're taking with you if you can just take one?
All right, if I would be honest, as soon as you said that, what popped in my head was No Sleep Till Hammersmith. That's the honest answer. But if I have to sit and think, God, I can't. There's so many records. I'm thinking Volume 4 Black Sabbath, or Masters of Reality, which is my favorite Sabbath album, or go again Reagan Youth. I would take Victim in Pain, but it's only like 15 minutes long. I have to listen to it over and
not
over.
Not a lot of material. You better really be happy with being stranded on a desert island with those songs. I mean, you could probably take the whole Agnostic Front catalog, and that might kill an hour.
Exactly. Yeah,
but I love that about hardcore songs, though, because you know, when you come to see a hardcore show like live, and I think that's what's great about it, is that communal exchange of energy between band and audience. Is that I know I've experienced it being out in the crowd, but what's it like being up there? I'm not talking about the ones where, and I just had a conversation about this with Craig from Agnostic Front about how you do those big shows and it's just a sea of people out there. But I mean those intimate club ones where people are right in your face. I mean, that's got to be a real rush.
Oh, it's amazing. I love it. Everybody always, and it's funny because hardcore kids are always like, oh, what's better for you, playing those big dumb festivals or the clubs? It's like the real answer is both, but the energy you get at an intimate show, it's amazing. I mean, you can ask anybody. I mean, why do you think like, big bands like Metallica, oh, we're going to go on tour, and all of a sudden they do surprise shows to warm up. It's to feel that, to remind them. I think to me it would be like to remind yourself why you do this. Yeah.
Now, obviously, the European audiences, they're always doing festivals over there. They really seem plugged in, and take their music seriously. The festivals always seem to go over without a hitch. Is there any glaring differences that you see in the American audiences? And obviously, I'm part of the American audience, so I'm not trying to impugn American audiences. But what are the differences that you see between the response to hardcore here in the States and to the European audiences?
I hate to say it, but I think the European audiences and South America and other places are they're not jaded.
Yeah,
they're not. Some of the American audiences they're so, I don't want to say reserved. I don't know if they're what it is, but they tend to wait to see if it's okay. Is everybody going to get into the
right?
And you go to Europe and it's like as soon as the doors open, bang, there's people up front,
I get what you're saying, right? Like they almost like seem to say like, hey, look, we don't get as sick of it all here, all the time. We're going to go fucking nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if and it's weird. I can't say that it's because America has so many bands coming through. Everybody's touring Europe. Everybody goes through the same towns. We did the tour we just did this summer. At one club that we played on like a Wednesday night, there was like on Monday night there was Agnostic Front. Tuesday night there was like I can't think of the name, but there was a black metal show. Then there was us on Wednesday. Then Thursday there was a thrash and death metal show. So they have shows every single night there. But the place was packed and everybody went crazy.
Are you somebody at this stage of your life that gets to go out as a fan and go see a lot of live music?
Yeah, when I come home, again, the thing that I hate is I'm usually out of the loop,
Yeah.
I'll have friends call me up and be like, hey, we're playing. I'm like, oh my God, you're playing 10 minutes from my house tonight? I didn't know that, Normally when I was in the old days, I knew when everybody was coming through town.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Is it hard for you as a music fan? Because I know I'm guilty of this, and doing the podcast, has helped me a little bit, try to give a platform and explore some of the new music that's out there. But when you're listening as a fan, are you somebody that when you've got time in your day to listen to music, where you fall back on your old standards, or do you try to be good about exploring new music and seeing what's out there? I'm a complete asshole about it. Like if I've got some time, I'm going to go listen to Master of Puppets, or I'm going to go listen to something fucking old. I mean, I just
I do that too. I like I don't know if you call it comfort. Sorry, my dog decided to get in the
That's all right.
Or his butt. But it just depends on my mood. Sometimes somebody will say like, oh, check out this band, and I'll listen to one song, and all of a sudden I'll be like, it's pretty good. So I'll put on the whole record and listen to that. But other times somebody will say, hey, check out this band, and I'll hear it and I'll be like, yeah, it's good, but that sounds like, a Slayer riff to me. And then all of a sudden I go put on, what album I think the Slayer riff is from. And then it's like, I'm sitting there listening to fucking Hell Awaits.
Yeah.
And I feel bad.
Go ahead.
I feel bad because sometimes people are like, you got to check out this new band. And I can't not hear their influences. You know what I'm saying? It's like, again, it's like, oh yeah, that's an Exodus riff, that's a Slayer riff, or
Right.
oh, that's the fucking Cro-Mags riff, or that's a Suicidal. You know, it's just, I don't know if it's just from being an older person or I'm just
it probably is. We're turning into a couple of old codgers. I mean, we just are. You know what I mean? So you know, take me a little bit like into your upbringing, because a lot of times parents aren't super stoked when their kids are going to go into the arts and entertainment field. You know, when you and Pete dropped this on your own parents, did you have a supportive family?
They were into it. I don't know if they thought we were going to make a living at it and stick at it so long. You know, they were like, it's okay. You know, my dad always, even to this day, still asks, like, you know, when are you getting a real job? What are you going to do about your future? Like, what are you going to do? I love this. They were really into it. My mom was very supportive of it. She loved it. They would come to see us play shows, especially when we started doing bigger shows. I think the one time my dad, he never really said anything, but the one time when we did like probably our biggest show in New York, and we were like on MTV, they came and interviewed us before the show. None of that impressed him, that MTV was there to interview. What impressed him was when he was walking in, there were scalpers selling our tickets for $75. He's like,
wow,
they're selling your tickets for $75. I started laughing. I go, we don't see any of that money.
That's how you know you've made it right there, when they're scalping your tickets.
Yeah, for my dad at least. Yeah.
So probably safe to say that the timetable on a new Sick of It All album would hopefully be maybe sometime early 2024.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And it kind of I wish we had put it out this year. I had worked on it over COVID and put it out this year, because that's also the 2024 is the 30th anniversary of Scratch the Surface.
Yes.
So now we got these, we're getting some festivals are asking us just to come and play Scratch the Surface, which is great. But I don't like doing that if we have a new record out. You know, we've actually never done. We did it once in Texas for the Fun Fest. I think it was like the 20th anniversary of Scratch the Surface and the 25th anniversary of our first album. So we did a combination of those two records, but we had a new album out at the time. Yeah. So I rather play a set mixed of everything, you know? Sure.
And so when you guys are growing up, you know, how soon do you realize, how soon do you guys take on those roles? Like, how soon does Pete get a guitar in his hands? How soon do you realize, like, you end up the vocalist? Does he end up the guitarist? Just by chance? Was it by design?
Yeah, well, Pete, he wanted to play guitar. He got a guitar. He started learning, took lessons, all that. I got a bass, and I tried to learn the bass. I did okay, not great. Yeah. Because, back then we were heavily influenced, like us and all of our friends. We were listening to, early Metallica, Slayer, again, the GBH and Discharge and all that stuff. But I just decided it was easier for me to be the singer.
Yeah. Yeah, the hell with this.
This
thing's got too many strings on it.
Yeah, didn't have to lug anything around. Didn't have to buy an amp. Didn't have to.
So all these guys in their roles in the band, like, just break down like a little bit about like what the importance is. Obviously Pete's your brother. You've already tooted his horn about his prolific ability to write songs and his output. Now, when I saw you guys last year and I got the chance to meet Armand, I was blown away. I just said, holy fuck, this guy's like a cyborg. He's a machine back there.
Yeah,
he really is.
Funny, when we toured, Igor from Sepultura, we'd call him the Machine.
Amazing.
Like when Igor lived in San Diego, and every time we'd play, he would get up and just come to our shows and stand behind Armand. And at the end of the set, he would just look at Armand and look at me and go, he's a fucking machine, you know?
Yeah.
And, I mean, that was a great compliment from Igor. So, but Armand, he is a machine. It's funny. He's not a drummer. He always says he's not a drummer. He's a great guitar player.
Yeah.
He's
okay.
An amazing guitar player. He was heavily influenced by Fast Eddie, and he played that kind of style, and originally Craig had another band called Straight Ahead, and they needed a drummer, and Armand said, I'll give it a try. Yeah. So he was drumming for Straight Ahead, and when we started Sick of It All, we had this friend of ours, Dave Lamb, who ended up after not even a year, he joined the Marines and he left. So we asked Armand, he said, well, since you drum for Straight Ahead, come write songs with us and drum on our demo. And he just ended up staying with us all the way.
Yeah, I actually had the privilege of getting the chance to talk to Danny from Agnostic Front, who was trying to put me in touch with Craig, because I do love to talk music, but the other guests that I usually have on here are a lot of boxers. Boxing is my favorite sport.
Oh,
so
wow.
I've been fortunate enough to get a lot of fighters on here, but I understand that Craig really likes the fight game a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was he was actually a trainer. He trained a lot of people. Yeah. I don't think he trained anybody that's super professional, but he was a coach in a gym, and he trained a couple of guys who sparred with some. I'll have to get you in touch with him. I have to.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he kind of play like a trainer there in Vinny Stigma's little movie there too?
Yes, of course. You were saying that, you tell us, look how great I am. I go, you're playing yourself. How can you go wrong?
But I loved Vinny's little movie, though. I mean, he was so over the top Italian, though.
It was funny. That was good. I love Vinny just because of the exuberance he has, though. And I've told the guys at Agnostic Front that, though, it just seems like he's really still got the exuberance of a teenager. It's great to see. It really is. Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. You love the music. It's fun.
Hardcore keeps you guys young.
Hardcore keeps you young. Yeah,
I think it does. I mean, Roger's obviously, a huge testament to him when I saw you guys play together last year. I mean, he's been through a shit ton with his health, but he's still up there fucking raging like harder than bands that are half his age. Yeah,
I loved that tour because it not that I'd stopped liking Agnostic Front, but it just reminded me like how fucking good they are.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where you see these packages going out with Testament and this band, that band. And I'm always sitting there going like, if Agnostic Front was on that package, they would be like, they really have to fucking work.
Yeah.
And, I mean, no, I'm not taking anything away from those bands. I'm speaking from experience and stuff that our booking agent or club promoters would be like, yeah, we wanted Sick of It All to play with so-and-so. But when we mentioned it to them and their management, they were like, oh, it's we got to work hard going on after them. Whatever that means. I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to brag. This is just stuff that was said to us.
Yeah.
And I see that when I see Agnostic Front, they're like a fucking, it's just like energy and precision.
Yeah.
And
they're not a band you want to follow.
No.
No. You go to see Agnostic Front, they're closing the show.
No doubt we wanted them to close that whole tour we did together. It was rough.
Yeah. But I want to ask because you are a front man, so I'm assuming that you've got the magic eye of the front man. You can obviously tell that I'm David Lee Roth's son, right? Is it obvious, Lou?
Definitely, yeah.
It is. Okay, that makes me feel a lot better. And going forward with my paternity suit, I may subpoena you for your opinion.
That's great.
But hey, listen, man, I really appreciate you doing this, man. It's been a real honor. I hope you'll keep in touch, and hopefully I hope we can do this again, man.
Yeah. I know. Definitely talk to Craig about it because he loved. First of all, why wouldn't he do it? He loves to talk about himself and boxing. It's perfect. Perfect. A narcissistic boxing fan. Perfect. No, I can't thank you enough, though, Lou. It's really been an honor, man. I've been a fan for so long, man. Thank you.
I geeked out a little bit when you even called my fucking phone. I was like, holy shit, I can't believe that Lou from Sick of It All just rang my fucking phone. I mean, I'm 50 years old, but I'm still a fan.
Thanks.
Yeah, it means the world. It really means the world. And do please keep in touch. And when I put your episode up, I'll send you the link. Please feel free to share it around, man. I would appreciate that, man. But it's just been so great talking to you, man. I appreciate this more than you know, man.
Okay, man.
Yeah, it was great talking to you, brother. And hopefully we'll do it again soon, man.
All right, man.
All right, take it easy, Lou. Thank you so much, buddy. Later. See ya. Looks like right there a New York hardcore staple, stalwart, mainstay, fixture. That is Lou KOLLER of Sick of It All. I mean, come on. I mean, as far as New York bands go, man, New York hardcore bands, I mean, Agnostic Front, Sick of It All, Agnostic Front. Not to impugn the other bands, a lot of great ones. You heard Lou mention a lot of them, Murphy's Law, Leeway, Madball, a lot of great ones, man. But for me, my opinion, man, Agnostic Front and Sick of It All always running neck and neck as the fucking OGs, the Godfathers, the guys that have been bringing it and doing it consistently for the long haul. Extending the timeline out. Those boys have been doing it for a long fucking time. Last album was 2018's Wake the Sleeping Dragon, which, like all Sick of It All albums, a fucking monster of a fucking album, a ripper, just like you would expect from the boys. And no doubt, very exciting to hear that hopefully some new Sick of It All music on the way early 2024, which you know what you're going to get, a fucking kick-ass punk hardcore album, the likes of which you will not get from many other bands, because Sick of It All knows how to fucking do this, much like I know how to do this. Or, well, I don't know if I know how to do this. I'm faking my way through podcasting, but as long as I got the old man looking down on me, that's all that matters. And you heard it right there. Lou KOLLER did give his definitive opinion that he could tell that he was looking at the offspring of Diamond David Lee Roth. And that's a front man right there. Front men know. All right, let me just put that out there. Front men know, okay? And one of the best in the business right there, man. Super huge honor to get a chance to talk to him, man. Sick of It All, if you don't know, they've been doing it since way the fuck back in the 80s. Coming up on a fucking, I don't even know, 35 fucking year career. Probably closing in on 40 years. That's a long time to do punk hardcore music, man, and do it at the level that those guys do it at, man. They are the cream of the crop right there. Lou, his brother Pete, and they also just did a fantastic book called The Blood and the Sweat. I would recommend go get the audio version, which Lou and Pete narrate themselves. Lots of great stories, lots of shit that will have you laughing your ass off, and just really giving you the 411 on the whole Sick of It All story from the beginning to the present day. Really good shit, man. A really well done audio book, man. Highly recommended. Go check that out. And of course, go check out anything that Sick of It All does. They are, and I didn't wear my Sick of It All shirt today, which I'm very embarrassed about, man. I wanted to, and I didn't. 50 years old, I forget things. 50-year-old pothead, mind you. So even more so. That's why I forget things. But, it is what it is. There's no do-overs. Well, maybe there'll be a do-over eventually sometime down the road, because Lou has agreed to come back on again, and I would love to have him again, man. Fucking Jesus, I would talk shop with him fucking 7 days a week, man. A true rock warrior, an OG, a fucking legend. There, I said it. Boom. Mic drop right there. A fucking punk hardcore legend right there, man. So go check out Sick of It All wherever they're coming, to a town near you, to a city near you. Go buy the album. Go buy the merch. Rock your fucking Sick of It All shit proudly. As you heard, I love that band name, Sick of It All. Most of the time, I am fucking sick of it all, as are a lot of us out there. So one of the great band names of all time, too. So really enjoyed that conversation with Lou KOLLER. Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. Super huge honor to have him on, as I said, man. Big salute to him, man. And remember, guys, until we get together and we do this thing again, please remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.